upon rewatching last episode, there were several little things that I picked up on that I didn't necessarily notice fully the first time around, which is pretty par for the course for this series, I think. However, there was one thing that kind of caught me a bit, which is when Laos saw what he saw towards the beginning of the episode, the spirit, the ghost, whatever you want to call it, that kind of warned them that hey, y'all need to hide or you're about to be seen by the Mad Mage. I feel like the out loud recognition by Laos to the rest of the party about how he'd been seeing and hearing things since starting to practice magic was maybe a little glossed over. Like, they did take what he said seriously and hide. And then later, before they met up with Shuro's party, when they were sitting around eating their brick bento, um, they did kind of touch on it in a very brief manner, basically just to say like maybe we should get you checked out by a doctor when we get back to the surface. But like, no one was really. I don't know. I feel like maybe we should have put a little bit more significance or severity on interrogating the idea that, Laos is seeing and hearing things, and it's not just like delusions. Like, it's not like hallucinations. Like, the fact that the one thing he specifically mentioned having just seen and heard was a warning that turned out to be a valid warning that they needed to heed. I feel like maybe we should have talked about that more. Maybe we should have been like, hey, what are some of the other things you've been seeing and hearing? Like, maybe there's some kind of, importance to, investigating this and hearing this out. But I don't know. That maybe that's just me. And loosely, I suppose, I think that I kind of want to use that talking point to just very briefly segue into Kabru. I've talked a fair bit, both in the post-episode discussion of last video, as well as in the episode where Kabru's party was like that main focus episode, about how much I like Kabru and why I like Kabru as a character. But one thing that I don't believe I've touched on, and I think, again, kind of ties into the point that I was just talking about, is Kabru is curious. And so it's not just that, like, he's very analytical. It's not just that he's very intelligent. It's not just that he's, like, all of these other things that, again, I've talked about a decent amount already. He's also a very curious character. Like, once Kabru and Shuro's party meet back up with Laos's party, for Shuro to meet back up, for Kabru to meet for the first, whatever. Once those groups all meet up and converge, what's her name? Rin, I think, is the kind of second in command, or at least the character that we see the most of outside of Kabru from his party. She asks, like, okay, aren't we going to, confront these people? Isn't that why we followed them down here? And he's like, no. And she's like, then why are we here? And Kabru's just kind of like, don't you want to find out how they got here? Don't you want to see what they're going to do next? And it's just like, and again, like, even at the very end of the episode, where the whole kind of standoff happened over the use of black magic to have been the role that it played in resurrecting Fallen, like, the inner monologue that we got from Kabru was like, he was very curious. He was like, what's going to happen now? And I don't know. I think that just, again, I just think that that's a facet of his character that I hadn't explicitly touched on so far. And I did want to make mention of that because I do think that it is just another aspect that makes him such an interesting character to me. But I think that's probably it. I think that's probably good. I think we are probably safe to go ahead and get into episode 17, I believe, of Dungeon Meshi, starting in 3, 2, 1, go. Okay, starting with the OP again. Not surprising. Yeah, I didn't talk too long. Okay, cool. I don't know. I'm fine talking for half an hour plus after episodes, but I try not to talk too overly much before episodes. I don't know. It's how I prefer to kind of structure my videos, I guess. I guess just briefly, one of the while we're sitting through the OP here, one of the little things that I noticed from last episode that I thought was fun was was actually a bit of an animation thing where at one point when some of the members of this now huge group of characters that we have together, as they were like passing by in the background, we had Chilchuck in the foreground. Like I think it was when he was trying to figure out who he needed to babysit more, Laos or Senshi, and the I don't remember her in Miko, maybe the half foot girl from Kaburu's party. You can see her as they're passing by as they're passing by Chilchuck in the background. You can see her like glaring at him, and I just think that that was a fun little bit to have added in the animation of the of that scene because we know from the previous episode that she has a very poor opinion of Chilchuck for one reason or another. Okay, and we are indeed picking up right where we left off with this standoff. Not super surprising. But I'm guessing... Okay, I think that was... I think that he was intentionally de-escalating the situation. I feel like Shiro just doesn't like Laos. Oops. Uh, I was gonna say, yeah, chill, Chuck. You babysat the wrong person. Huh. Oh, what are... Hate this. Marcel is concerned. Having been the one who, you know, used said black magic. Okay, somebody remembers. None. Y'all saw the cleaners, right? Oh, okay. What? Chill, Chuck, calm. Oh, Jesus. I thought, oh. Oh, I was gonna comment how the Harpy fight being in the background was a cool choice, but oh my, how things are about to change. Oh, what a way for this revelation to come. With her straight up murdering some of the ninjas. Laos, too greedy, Jesus. Why? Since she's still just holding a plate of food, by the way. Holy. Oh, jeez. We haven't really seen what this little spellcaster can. Oh my god, she is too much. I was gonna say. She has already killed like almost half of you. Oh my god, she can still cast too? Nah, this ain't right. She's busted. Why is he taking off all of his armor? She is on a bit of a rampage. Oh, okay, that first thing that they've done that's been like actually effective. Nope. Saw that coming, didn't like it anyways. Oh my word. Holy assassination. Nope, not effective enough. Oh, he snapped out of it. Okay. Wow. Yep, spent too long talking. Holy shit! How many people are gonna die this episode? And how many are we gonna be able to bring back? I don't think Martial is good enough at healing magic to fix all of this. Oh, okay. This guy, right. I can't revive everyone, though. Oh my god. For now. That should have been we're safe for now. I mean, you could have asked Shuro. He probably would have known if she could do that. I don't think they want her doing anything else. Hey, let go of the staff, buddy. Nah, I don't buy this. I don't like his strategy. Nope. Don't like his proposed plan. It wasn't caused by black magic. Listen, you little bitch. No, good for Laos. No. Fuck this guy. I'd like to point out how little he was involved in the conflict, both with the Harpies and against Fallen. I wish he'd got killed like the rest of them. Get out of here, you useless bitch. The fight that you didn't participate in. Got it. Oh, this ought to be good. Why are you still hitting him? Dick. Dude, he literally just... Yeah, no, Laos is totally in the right here. Laos, you're not good at hand-to-hand combat. Could have easily tripped him up there. What's the point of having a mouth? Is Senshi still holding that plate of food, by the way? You haven't put in half the effort. Yeah, started by your young master. Good. Take some responsibility. Yeah. 3 missing? Jesus. Oh my god, he is still holding that tray of food. I don't like how much hate she's getting. Oh god, some harpies are still here. Oh my god, those two are still okay. Get him, Laos. Get fucked. No, don't offer him food. Fuck this guy. It's funny. I was going to. I was like, I'll wait. I already spent most of the episode not talking. I'll save what I was about to say till the end. No, you are not forgiven. Y'all suck. Bye. Why? That seems so unnecessary. If you're fucking off anyways, why do you have to make things worse for everybody else by... And... Hmm. Oh, this ought to be good. These observations. He's not even listening. Yeah, do you want him to be the person who defeats the... Nah, no way. Yeah, we're just making rolled omelet. Oh, they're harpy eggs. What? What is this? Where? You didn't get out quick enough. Maybe I have no choice but to kill him. What a nice guy. Chill Chuck protecting Marcel. Keep that food away from her. Oh, my boy. Kabu is struggling. If you die there, we can't bring you back. Jeez. Oh. Okay. I'm going to count that as him saying, I'm sorry for being such a dick. I was gonna say, did he forget his name at some point? Chilchuck panicking a bit. Understandably so, I think. It'll all work out somehow. Yeah, just defeat the lunatic magician, and then you can just spend the rest of your life in the dungeon that you'll have control over. Oh dear. Okay. Hi, my word. That episode was crazy. Jesus, that episode was crazy. Fuck me. I don't even know. Where do I begin? What do I say? maybe maybe this episode is just more of a reaction episode and less of a commentary episode. I don't know. That was that was so crazy. That was also so fucking cool. I don't know. Like, so at the end of last episode, at the in the discussion section for last video, I talked about how like I knew that Fallen became some kind of monster, right? I talked about how like I had seen images and gifs on Tumblr when everyone was talking about this show. So like I knew that there was something that like I know that there was something like that that was going to happen, right? I I still I was not expecting this. That was so wild. She was such a brutally efficient killing machine. And while there were like pain reactions at times when she was attacked, it was so unnerving the way that she just like she was so casual with a lot of the kills, right? Am I the only one who felt that way, who picked up on that? Like there was no anger and resentment really. It wasn't like a joyful killing. Like most of the time she was just kind of killing because it was the thing that she felt like she should be doing almost. Like it was just like again, it was like a casual, like very neutral killing a lot of the times. And something about that is just concerning. um but I guess to an extent that does track with the idea that she's currently being controlled. And the one of the words that I used last in the last video was puppet. So in that sense, it makes sense that she's not like super emotive, and that only like the sort of base emotions, like very kind of primal, very like natural, instinctual sorts of reactions are present. Again, like reacting to pain, and then also to an extent like fleeing upon realizing that she wasn't able to adequately wipe them out easily. So probably feeling a bit threatened to maybe not to like a great extent, but to some small extent. Even though like to us as the viewers, it might have seemed like she still very much had the upper hand. Like it's not like our adventurers were turning the tide in any in any present circumstance. Uh, it was still like she used a big attack, and seeing that that didn't finish the job, sensing that she needed to prioritize survival, she fled. And that's again, so just very very base instincts I think at work, which again just kind of I think that that tracks with this notion that like she's not she's not there, right? But also talking about how Fallen the person isn't like fully there, being in this coexistence with the monster. She's talking about things that I wasn't expecting. I When Laos steeled himself to attack, and then like Fallen was raising her head, like in my mind I was like, there's no way she does some kind of like fake out, reach out to him, and then attacks, right? And then to have her actually do like say Big Brother Laos, that I was, oh my god, I don't know, this encounter, the way that it feels wrong to say characterization just because like she is a monster, but the way that they portrayed this version of Fallen, and the way that they handled the overall encounter, god, there are just so many things about it that were like so sick. And there's oh my god, it also like Kabru having, I'm like skipping around a little bit in the episode right now to try to just remind myself of maybe things that I wanted to talk about. Kabru with the call out of you don't care how many people die if you can protect someone dear to you. He's like, this is like the way he's saying it, it's very much like with vitriol, right? There's venom in his words. He's like, it's an attack, it's an insult. But I don't think that what he's saying is like an uncommon belief, right? Not everyone is the super like utilitarian, like, greatest good for the greatest number of people. Like, as long as you can save the most lives possible, that's the important thing. Not everyone is like that. Even some people who like claim to be like that, the second you make stakes personal to them, they change their tune to like that. That's people are just like that, right? So a bit of an interesting take from him, I think, just in the sense of like, you know, I I think that Kabru is very much like I think he is probably like a very, probably the most like the closest to an ideal leader that we probably have in the show, and showing that like sometimes like again that I don't believe in Kabru's case for Kabru this character. I don't think that it's fake, right? I think that in his mind it is legitimately just like you prioritizing this person is bad for other people, and that makes it bad. I think that he's probably very objective in terms of this, like saving and sacrificing. And I mean, he tries to kill Fallen, right? And were it not for the changes in biology that we get explained to us by Laos later, like he would have succeeded, because we know that Kabru is a very effective killing machine when it comes to people. He has issues with monsters, but he's very effective at killing people. And I mentioned when he was taking his armor off, I was wondering if it was for maneuverability, but at the same time I was kind of like, if he prioritizes maneuverability so much in combat, why does he bother wearing armor in the first place? And I think it's because it wasn't maneuverability for an extended exchange. He was moving the armor to be lighter and quieter for specifically an assassination attempt. Like I don't think that was an exaggeration when I called what he did or attempted to do an assassination. Like he was trying to get in there, quick stab in the vital organs, and be done with the conflict. He wanted that battle to be over. Kind of cool. I think that we got to see what the gnome in Kabru's party could do, because I feel like I believe that he couldn't really act in the previous few times that we had seen Kabru's party in any kind of conflict situation. And the fact that we now see that like he uses an Undyne as like a what is it? Not summon. What's the word I'm looking for? Whatever. Oh no, what is the word that I'm looking for? That's gonna bother me. Anyways, that makes sense as to why in the previous episode when they were at the water, he was like, I can't take her out now. She'll get lost or something like that. God, I'm just seeing Fallen mercilessly murder all these different people as I click through the episode here. Aubrey's assassination attempt was super cool. The fact that it didn't finish her, and then he ended up getting flipped over, and after a brief conversation with Laos, then dies. Marcel protecting people from that big attack at the end, or protecting some people at least. Okay, and now we are post-conflict, and I'm not going to go through and try to break down like everything he says to Marcel and everything he says to Laos, but so the thing that I was starting to say earlier, and then I was like, I'll just cover it afterwards, was last episode when we got Shuro explaining like why he left Laos's party, and I can take my fucking headphones off. When we got Shuro explaining like why he left Laos's party, like what his plans were, what he was going to do, like why he thought it was the best path forward for what he wanted to do, which was save Fallen, I was honestly more on board and accepting of his explanations and reasons than I was of Namari's. Like it's not that, it's not that financial constraints aren't like a legitimate reason, because everyone needs to live, everyone needs to eat. As someone who is financially struggling myself, like I get it, right? But at the same time, the way that she then kind of presented herself and went about certain things in that episode with her, I just wasn't really a big fan of her from the beginning to the end. Just wasn't really a big fan of her. Last episode, I was kind of in Shuro's camp. In insofar as like, again, I was more I was more accepting of what he was telling us than, and the way that he was like talking about what he was doing, than I was of Namari previously. But now in this episode, I'm gonna 180 on that because he just seems like a fucking asshole. And yeah, I don't know, just the way that he, yeah, I don't like the way that he decides how to handle things. I don't like the way that he seems to want to be the one making the final call on things. I don't like how, again, I commented before how he like, and I get that he's like still really hungry because he ended up having his little spat with Laos previously in the before this whole thing with the harpies and pollen happened. He never ended up eating that meal that was prepared for him, so like he's starving. He's literally so hungry that like he could potentially collapse. But I don't like how somebody who hasn't been shown to have done anything so far, somebody who hasn't provided anything to the overall situation, like again, obviously he wasn't the one who initially saved Fallen. We know that, that was Laos, and Marcial's the one who brought her back. And now this guy's showing up later, and because he's been starving himself, he then wasn't able to participate in this combat. And yeah, it's just like, who are you to be telling us how to handle the situation when you haven't done fuck all, right? I think that's fair. Like, obviously, not everybody who can contribute to a situation like needs to do so in a combat role. Like, Chilchuck's a great example. Although, again, I think that he did play a pretty important role in the fight with the Red Dragon. Still, overall, like, he's not a fighter. He's someone who helps them with navigation. He's someone who helps them with strategy a little bit, and he does that sort of stuff. He does thinking things, and so like I'm not trying to undervalue the role that thinking can play in these sorts of situations. I'm not trying to say that like only adventurers who do the most damage have worthwhile opinions, but again, it feels like this dude who's it feels like this dude's just like trying to make himself the main character when he's just not. I guess is one way to say it. Um, and also, I just maybe this is. I'd be curious to know like what percentage of Dungeon Meshi anime viewers and manga readers. I'd be curious to know, like, in the disagreement between Laos and Shuro over, like, their communication issues specifically, I'd be curious to know how many people side with Laos versus how many people side with Shuro. Because that is definitely something where I feel like you could have people who, based on their, like, personal experiences and personalities and whatnot, I feel like you could definitely have people go either way. I don't think that it's necessarily the case that like Laos is absolutely like no question, no room for argument in the right here, but I definitely find myself more so agreeing with Laos in this situation. And so yeah, that because of so yeah, there's just a bunch of different factors at play that made me just really not like Shiro this episode. Which isn't to say that I don't think his character is good. I just don't like him, right? There's a distinct difference between like not liking a character and not liking a character's place in a story. You know what I mean? And while I think that Shiro does play, a pretty good role, pretty decent role in the story, I really don't like him. The more that I saw from him this episode. Um, and yeah, because and again, it almost feels like he's like lashing out to an extent. Like it's, I don't know if it's, I don't think I would necessarily call it projecting, but it definitely feels like he's just like attacking at first verbally, but then physically also. He's just attacking everybody, despite the fact that again he hasn't done shit. He's the one who's been powerless throughout this whole situation. He's the one who hasn't been able to do anything to contribute to actually saving Fallen for the most part. And yet he's the one who's like, you need to listen to me. You all suck. I hate that you did this. How can I trust you to do XYZ when you've already done, ABC that is bad? Like, who are you? What gives you the right? So, and again, also he was just kind of a dick in the way that he was saying some of the things he was saying. So yeah, I didn't like him. Yeah, that was finishing up the thing that I was talking about before, which was just like my 180 on Shuro as a character. Oh, and then also, I kind of wanted to say, just to sort of make fun of Shuro a little bit, it seemed like once he ate a little bit, after Laos had beaten him up, and then once he ate, he was a bit less moody. His emotional state seemed a bit more stable. So I don't know if we're necessarily supposed to read into that as like he was acting. Part of the reason why he was acting the way he wasn't just because of stress and because he cared about Fallen, but also potentially in part because he was just because like hunger was making him moody. Like that's a thing, right? Anybody I think who has experienced like pretty, severe hunger has probably noticed that it can affect your mood. So I don't know if we were necessarily supposed to read that as being part of it, but it did seem like he calmed down a little bit after getting some food in him. So there's that. But after everything that happened prior to that, not enough to make me be like, oh, okay, maybe he's not such a bad guy. Even once we get towards the end and he gives them that little, what was it, like a whistle or something like that? I don't remember what it was. The little trinket that he gives them as like a get out of jail card. Um, Even that, to me, it seemed more like an apology than anything else, which he didn't expressly say, I'm sorry, unless I missed it. I'll double check that here in a second, but I'm pretty sure he didn't. Um, and then I like how Kabru is just analyzing Laos here, and I don't know, it's just funny. There's such a disparity between the kind of person, the kind of character that Laos is, and the kind of person and character that Kabru is. And it was really funny to see Kabru like try to do his normal things on Laos, and Laos just I don't know. It's it's a fun dynamic, and I hope that we see more of it. I know that seemingly like everybody left. I thought it was just going to be Shuro's party that left, but Shuro and Kabru's party both left. So that's a little unfortunate. Which also means that we didn't really get a lot of what I was hoping for after last episode. I talked last episode about how like the big thing that I wanted to see from this episode, or maybe this episode and or next episode, was now that all of these groups are together, all like this huge cast is together, I wanted to see more interactions and like overlap with these characters for new and fun, interesting dynamics. It seems like we're not really getting that. Don't get me wrong, what we got this episode was still something incredible, but yeah, we're not really getting what I was hoping for, which is a little disappointing. We might still get something to that effect, but we are now 2/3 of the way through the show, through the season. I think there's a second season. There's going to be a second season of the show at some point. Not sure on that, but yeah. I don't know. I hope we see a little bit more of that kind of stuff later. But we did get a little bit of it, like right here, right now, as I'm again skipping through the show a little bit here, with Kabru having backed himself into a bit of a corner where he was like, in the last episode, he was like, oh, I'd love to try some of those monster dishes that you're talking about. And, his internal monologue at the time was like, oh my God, this guy would actually take me up on that. And now he's in the position this episode of like, what do I do? And the fact that for a moment his solution to the situation was maybe I have no choice but to kill him now. Oh my word. But the idea of turning him down was never on the table. It was I'll kill him or I'll suffer through it. And his whole party is just like, yeah, that's Kabru. And I think what we see, I don't think we necessarily see him respond to like whether it tastes good or not. I think we only see him like potentially struggling not to vomit afterwards. Not necessarily because he thinks it tastes bad, but he seems to be very anti-monster for some reasons that I hope we learn a little bit about later. I hope we get a bit of backstory on him at some point, just because, again, his party, I'm pretty whatever on still, even after this encounter, like where maybe we were supposed to learn a little bit about some of them or get closer to some of them or whatever. I'm still pretty whatever on most of Kaburu's party, but I do really like him as a character, obviously, as I've made note of multiple times already. And so I would be interested to see some of his backstory that has made him this kind of character who has this like very strong opinion on how adventurers should be and like what they should be doing and like because again like well I don't think it was it this episode? No, I'm pretty sure it was last episode. Yeah, it was last episode where they were talking still, when things were still cordial. Um, and Laos had mentioned like how they'd teamed up with the orcs. Like Kabur, like he didn't say anything, but his demeanor changed, and we got the internal monologue of him being like pissed off. Like, doesn't this guy know that we're supposed to be killing these orcs? Like, so he just and we saw like in the episode that was like again Kabru centric. I should probably if I'm gonna keep referencing that episode, I should probably remember. I should probably go back and look to see which episode it is for easier reference. But whatever. Um, like one of the reasons that he like killed one of the people that had like tried to set up the ambush, I'm pretty sure was basically just because he saw them as being a useless adventurer because they weren't doing what he thought adventurers should be doing. So he was like, "Ah, you're useless. Might as well just kill you. You're dead weight. You're nothing but a nuisance. You are solely going to serve as an obstacle if your existence continues. So I'm just going to snuff it out." And like, despite the fact that I have made a few different arguments for him being like a very good leader, he is still a very extreme character in some of his beliefs. And you don't, how do I say this? You don't happen into extremism. You don't sort of like, you don't fall into extremism one day. It is possible to be radicalized over time. Thinking about politics now, not a fun thing. Shouldn't have said the things the way that I said them, but it is possible to be radicalized over time. But I would just be curious to see, again, just how Kabru became the kind of person that he is, I think. And oh, also real quick, I skipped over it in the fight, but I think it's interesting that Chilchuck, I'm seeing the little half foot from Kabru's party in the shot that I'm on now as they're all getting ready to leave the dungeon. And I thought it was very interesting how Chilchuck, like, found her during the fight and, like, dragged her off to the side and, like, helped her hide under Senchi's pot, which like again, we know that that pot is made out of what is it, adamant? I think they called it something like that. That material that's like so strong that it can withstand dragons, and yeah, I don't know. I just think it's interesting that this character was like previously bad mouthing him and had a very low opinion of him, and he went out of his way to find her and be like, you. I'm guessing that like he assumed probably that like she's probably also not a fighter. And so he was like, you need to stay safe. You need to stay away from all of this that's happening. So, yeah, that was just very interesting. And going back to that point that I made about like, I'm a little disappointed about how we're not going to get more interactions, at least not immediately, of like these different characters. I would have been curious to see like her talk to Chilchuck afterwards, or like or even not even necessarily her talking directly to Chilchuck, but maybe her talking to another character about the way that he saved her. Like, I don't know, that could have been cool to see. I don't think that this is like the last we're gonna see of these characters. I don't think we're gonna spend the next what is this episode 17? I don't think we're gonna spend the next 7 episodes only on Laos's group, right? So there's still chances that to for us to see and get some of the kind of content that I want to see and get in terms of character interactions. But yeah, I don't know. Just again, just a little disappointing on that note. Also, we're like pretty much at the end of the episode here. Oh yeah, it's like a bell or something. Whatever. Um, yeah. Okay. I think that's pretty good for talking about the episode. What was I about to say? Oh, where I am 2/3 of the way through this show now. I've been slowing down a little bit in terms of posting for a variety of reasons. Not gonna make this video even longer by talking about that. But it has probably become very clear to anybody who has been watching these Dungeon Meshi videos specifically that I am somebody who really likes character-focused stories. And where I am, again, it's still going to be a while before I finish this show, but where I am starting to get a little bit closer towards the end, I am going to make a poll at some point on this channel to try to get an idea of what people maybe want to see, because the last couple of shows that I tried to start on this channel didn't get, super great reception. So I'm going to try to get a poll going to see a little bit better maybe what people would like to see. To that end, if you're watching this and you're still here 50 some minutes into the video, if you know some like some very good series that are like very strongly character driven, where like there's a very heavy focus, a very heavy emphasis on characters and character interactions and character dynamics, character growth, all of these, these types of things, as opposed to all of the other things that media can focus on, then feel free to recommend like one or two things in the comments down below as part of anything else you might want to be leaving in the comments. But yeah, I am interested to see what's gonna happen next. So like, Fallen is still a monster. She ran off. Presumably the goal is still to like go after her in some manner, but like Laos's party had intended previously to return to the surface, right? They wanted to recoup their supplies, rally support, and they're not doing that now. They didn't leave the dungeon with the other two groups who did. And yeah, I mean, Shuro, maybe I misinterpreted something Shuro said. Shuro said he was going to tell the Lord of the Island about what happened here. I thought he was being a dick and talking about the black magic stuff. Maybe he was talking about, maybe he's going to tell the Lord the kind of things that Laos's party was going to tell them. Maybe he's going to just sort of deliver the message in their stead before he leaves to go back to his homeland. Maybe that's how we were supposed to have interpreted that. If so, should have been presented differently, because that's definitely not the impression that I got. But yeah, I'm curious to see what our party is going to do, and I wouldn't be surprised if next episode we get at least, maybe not for the whole episode, but I wouldn't be surprised if we got like at least several minutes of time spent outside of the dungeon with seeing what other characters are doing and like preparations that maybe are being made to send these reinforcements and backup in to kind of follow up on what Laos's party is doing to not only to save Fallon by, again, through this, presumably the current goal of confronting and defeating the lunatic magician, the Mad Mage. So yeah, that's gonna be all for now. That's gonna be it. This video is already like an hour. I did not think this was going to be nearly this long. Jesus. God, I hope that during editing I'm not going through this and like, oh God, I wasted so much time talking about nothing. Anywho, remember to like the video. Remember to leave a comment on the video. Thumbs up, comments, all those things help the metrics. God damn it, I think I forgot to... I wanted to specifically mention like, comment, subscribe, all that stuff at the beginning of this video because I had been forgetting to do that on the most recent few videos, and I think I forgot to do so again this time. Oops. Oh well, there's always next video, and so with that being said, until next time, take care. Bye-bye.